Hello, and welcome to this week's Retroactive Podcast. Before we get started, there are just a few too many humorous things going on in the world to let them pass by without getting the laugh from them that we could all use. So, I propose we play a few games. Let's start with the first one. Queen of the Airheads. Okay, now normally I don't go after people on a personal level, but sometimes they just persist and persist and persist in their nonsense until it eventually has to be called out for what it is. And today I'm calling out Rachel Zegler. Most of you saw the trailer for the new Disney live-action version of Snow White. You're aware that it sucked so bad that it had to be pulled and the entire film completely re-edited and redone. They had made the 7 dwarves into non-dwarves, just regular height people, because they thought it would be offensive to little people. Turns out, actually, that was taking jobs away from actors with dwarfism, who are limited in their roles as it is. And there are certain roles, like the Oompa Loompas and Willy Wonka, like the Wizard of Oz and Snow White, where there are roles specifically cast for people that are actors and also have dwarfism, and you just took 7 of those roles away from them. But that was not Rachel Zegler's decision. Her decision was to get out there and promote how, Snow White was actually stalked by the prince, which was totally creepy. She doesn't need a man. She's a boss woman, and, completely rewrite the story into something weird. And that's not even getting into the irony that the character is known as Snow White. And, hey, I didn't write the story, but I can read the story. And she was called Snow White because she had hair black as ebony, lips red as the rose, and skin white as snow. Once again, I didn't write the story, don't be mad at me, but that is the story. So to cast what we call today brown woman as Snow White is a little strange, especially in a Hollywood culture that says, a straight person is not allowed to play a gay person, so on and so forth. That everybody can only play the part that they've actually lived in real life, which is kind of misunderstanding the whole point of the profession of acting. So, Disney released their new trailer for their re-edited Snow White. And hey, it definitely seems better than the first one, so I'll give them that, but it still has some problems. One of which is that the woman playing the evil queen is unarguably much, much, much more beautiful than Rachel Zegler playing Snow White, which, once again, creates an inherent contradiction in the story. The problem for Rachel Zegler, who wants to be political but is not intelligent enough or educated enough, one of the two, to be political, is that this woman playing the evil queen is also Israeli. She's Jewish. And we all know that the libs have now decided that the most woke thing you can be is anti-Semitic. So Rachel Zegler posted a comment where she thanked people for all the love for the new trailer and then had to get in a jab at her co-star by putting an ending to that post saying, "And never forget, free Palestine." Okay, I'm going to use small words and speak slowly so that Rachel can understand me. Palestine is as free as it's ever going to be when the people elect Hamas to be their government, an organization that steals their aid, leaves them with drinking water that's flooded with their own sewage in order to buy bombs to blow up Jewish babies. And if you want the Palestinians to have a state, that's fine. You can want that. But you should know, and would if you had ever, read a book, that the Palestinians already have a state. It's called Jordan. It's twice the size of Israel. It was created 2 whole years before the Jews ever got a state, and is to this day 70% Palestinian. So instead of sniping at people that you're jealous of, maybe you should leave politics to people who have 2 neurons to rub together and stick to playing dress up and make-believe on Broadway. Our next game is called What Are We Laughing At? You may have seen the new clip of the Stephen Colbert show going viral on the internet. The libs have made a joke. They just didn't mean to. It is, however, funny, so let's enjoy the laugh. Caitlin Collins went on Stephen Colbert to criticize Trump. She's an anchor for CNN. And Stephen Colbert began talking about how impartial CNN was. And the audience, which I would point out, anybody that goes to a Stephen Colbert taping is way on the left. Okay, these are not people that are like MAGA right-wingers that are laughing to make some sort of point. These are people on your side. Okay, these are people that agree with all of your leftist values, and they burst out laughing. And I would like to point out, they weren't laughing sarcastically or maliciously. They were laughing because they actually thought he had to be joking. I mean, it was just normal laughter of people that thought, yes, he's trying to be funny, and we will laugh at his attempt to be funny. So I'm going to play that for you, and you listen and decide for yourself.
Trump has kind of been thrown on his heels by this, and he's not really sure how to go after Vice President Harris. He knew his attack lines on President Biden. He really has struggled with how to go after someone who's 20 years younger than him, who is a different gender, a different race. It's kind of been this moment where he has not been able to coalesce around a single attack line.
I know you guys are objective over there, that you just report the news as it is. No, I know. CNN makes it. I know.
Was that supposed to be a laugh line?
I wasn't supposed to be, but I guess it is.
Yeah, so you heard that. That was not supposed to be a joke, but I guess it is. I mean, what else can you say about that? I know that you people in the media think that you are giving a subtle performance worthy of an Oscar. But newsflash, okay? You are so openly partisan, working as pure propagandists, that even an audience that's on your side, who agrees with your propaganda, thought that the very idea that you were impartial was a joke. They honestly thought that. They honestly thought it was a joke. You could tell that laughter was not malicious. It was sincere. They thought you were being funny. That should tell you something. Our next game is called, Wait, you think who should lead the free world? So, you may have heard Kamala Harris has chosen her running mate, and she could not have made a worse choice, which is good news for me because I want to see her lose. I've been very clear about how I feel about the direction that the Democrat Party has taken. So I'm totally happy with her choice at this point because I think it increases the chances that she will lose. Of course, it will be disastrous if by some miracle she wins. But I responded to her choice with a little dose of reality. So I tweeted at her, 6 degrees of separation between Kamala Harris and Hitler. Hitler, idolized in a neo-Nazi film, which was promoted by Assad Zaman, who was chosen to speak publicly several times at Tim Walz's events, who was chosen as the VP running mate by Kamala Harris. That's 5. So I'm going to play for you a commercial of the brilliance of the woman who made this VP pick. Here we go.
We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making. Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically, that's wrong.
So you're now no longer are you necessarily keeping those private files in some file cabinet that's locked in the basement of the house. It's on your laptop, and it's then therefore up here in this cloud that exists above us, right?
The Caribbean nations, island nations, in the Western Hemisphere. That is where the Caribbean is. We are also in the Western Hemisphere. They are our neighbors. I am here, standing here on the northern flank, on the eastern flank, talking about what we have in terms of the eastern flank. I can imagine what can be and be unburdened by what has been. You know? Space is exciting. It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree that there are things and tools that are available to us to slow this thing down. We will work together and continue to work together to address these issues, to tackle these challenges, and to work together as we continue to work.
Do you ban plastic straws?
I think we should. Yes. I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. It's really difficult to drink out of a paper straw when if you don't gulp it down immediately, it starts to bend. Yes. And then, the little thing catches it. And then, so we got to kind of perfect that one a little bit more. Do you know, a bit of a history lesson. Do you know that the women's teams were not allowed to have brackets until 2022?
Brackets.
So the United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. AI is kind of
North Korea.
Those 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence.
Well, artificial intelligence is a step up from whatever that was. But that's not how the New York Times sees it. So allow me to read a very short description from the New York Times of what they see when they look at Kamala Harris. Quote, Miss Harris, a former prosecutor, and more relevantly, a black woman, in an unrelenting spotlight of national politics, wears broad-shouldered suits, pearls, and heels. She marshals an arched brow, a studied hand flip, carefully curated sentences. Yeah. Her wave is controlled, her eyes always fixed on a distant point, her movements smooth. Mr. Waltz, who's broad-shouldered, is often pictured in T-shirts, white hair slightly ruffled, if not hidden under a camo hat. Even when he wears a jacket and tie, he tends to look like, well, a flustered high school football coach, red-faced, as if he's about to drop a play on a dry erase board. But Mr. Waltz's breakthrough over the past few weeks has also been Miss Harris's. Having struggled for years to get popular traction, she suddenly has the winds of Democratic enthusiasm and hope at her back. Long a mystery to even those who wanted to support her, Miss Harris has become beloved for her big laugh, her dance moves, her mother's coconut metaphor. Oh, dear Lord. I haven't heard so many fake orgasms since Meg Ryan's starred in When Harry Met Sally. Our next game is called Come and Get Me. I'm sure people all over the world have opinions about who should be the next president of the United States. But the reality is, while you can have those opinions, what you don't have is a say. I'm not saying that to be aggressive. That cuts both ways. If you don't live in the United States, you don't have a say in who the president of the United States is. Just like I don't live in Britain or France or Japan, and I have no say in who their leaders are. It's no different than I have no say in what you do in your life, in your home, and you have no say in what I do in my life, in my home. That's just the way reality works. So, because people will always have their opinions. I have my opinions about what goes on in other countries. They have their opinions about what goes on in mine. We're all allowed to do that. But when we do that, we should do that respectfully, understanding that ours is an outsider's view. You may have an opinion about who should be the president of the United States. But in having that opinion, if you don't live in the United States, you should also acknowledge that is an outsider's view. You don't know what it's actually like to live here under either Kamala Harris via the Biden administration's 4 years, or what it was like for the 4 years before that under Trump's administration, and therefore your opinion, which you are entitled to, is not as relevant as somebody that actually has to live under the results of that decision. And the reverse is true. I can have my opinions about things going on in the other parts of the world, but I don't live there. I don't have boots on the ground, so my opinions don't count for as much as somebody who actually is in the middle of it. For that reason, I always try to be respectful when I talk about something going on in another country. I'm not living there. I don't know what it's like on the ground. I'm seeing it from the outside via the internet, and I'm drawing my conclusions based on the best information that I can expose myself to, but I'm not actually living there, and so I draw a distinction between my opinions on that subject and somebody who is living in the middle of it. That being said, we've all heard about the terrible riots going on in Britain right now. It's out of control. A lot of people, it seems, are angry with reason about the situation going on in Britain due to unchecked immigration. And then there are a lot of people who are just looking for an excuse to be violent and to vandalize and to get out their frustrations on life in general. And this is just the excuse to do that. At least that's what it looks like from the outside. There's some of both going on. But here are just some basic facts to consider about the situation. In 1996, Britain's net immigration was about 55,000 people. And at the time, when they allowed about 55,000 people in every year, only about 3% of the British population were concerned about immigration. Today, 55,000 people doesn't even cover the illegal immigrants that are coming in, much less all the legal ones. For several years now, they have been having just massive waves of immigrants come in, and it has caused problems. Now, whether you think it should cause problems, whether you think maybe if it was handled better, we could have this much immigration and it not cause problems, I'm not addressing any of that. I'm just saying it has caused problems. That's a fact. During the 11 years under the Blair government, more people came into the country, legally and illegally, than the number of all of the people who came between the Battle of Hastings in 1066 all the way up through 1950 combined. I'm going to repeat that. More immigrants flooded into Britain during those 11 years than all the people who came over 900 years combined. And what are the results of this? A recent poll asked the British public one question: is multiculturalism working? 95% said no. I mean, really stop and think about that. You couldn't get 95% of Americans to agree that the sky is blue. And I'm not saying that derisively, I mean that literally. You would not get 95% of people to answer yes to that. You certainly wouldn't get 95% of them to agree on something like, can someone change their gender, or a controversial issue like that. And yet 95% of Brits believe that multiculturalism isn't working, as opposed to only 3% who were even concerned about it less than 3 decades ago. Now, I mean, we can argue over whether or not people should feel that way, but that doesn't change the fact that they do. And since they do feel that way, the people that are responsible for governing them should ask themselves, why do they feel that way, rather than condemning them for feeling that way. They should be asking which of the many options available to them, whether that be to slow immigration to a more manageable level in order to allow people the time to integrate, whether that be screening immigrants more carefully to choose ones that are coming with the intention to become a part because they admire the society and want to be part of it rather than to stay separate or change the society into one closer to whatever society they left behind. Whether that be addressing a 2-tier policing system so that people don't have as much resentment between groups. Whatever route they take, shouldn't the government be asking themselves what they should try next in order to better serve the 95% of their people who feel unheard and dissatisfied with them, rather than telling their own people to sit down and like it? Because the whole let them eat cake attitude didn't end well for the last regime that tried it. I'm really hoping history doesn't repeat itself here, because that was ugly the last time. It's always ugly. And when you tell 95% of your population that they have no say, they need to sit down and shut up, you're going to find them less and less controllable. And that is what we're seeing right now, is large swaths of the population getting out of control. You need to be asking, why are they that upset, and what can we do to fix it, rather than just telling them they're bad people. That's not me saying that the ones who are committing acts of violence or vandalism, hey, those people should be arrested and punished appropriately according to the law. I'm not saying let them off the hook. But to merely dismiss everybody who's upset or makes a post online saying, yeah, we have problems, you're only going to be able to clamp down that way for so long. It is a statistical fact that more Muslim immigrants in Britain joined ISIS and other terrorist groups than the number of Muslims who joined the British military. These things are statistical facts. If you don't like them, take it up with either the people who collected the data, or take it up with the people that the data is collected about, or whatever. I'm just telling you what the stats say. I am not controlling what they say. But Britain is responding, the British government at least, is responding to this civil unrest by threatening their own population. They've arrested people for just posting how they feel about immigration, how they feel about the violence that started this, where 3 little girls were stabbed to death. 11 little girls total were stabbed, or 11 victims total. A couple of them were the adults at the party. But 11 victims were stabbed. 3 little girls were stabbed to death. 2 of them died right there on the spot in pools of their own blood. The 3rd one died in the hospital. Several other people are stabbed seriously. I don't know if their injuries are still life-threatening at this point. But, I mean, this is after decades of Muslim rape gangs targeting little girls on the streets. I mean, there are problems that need to be addressed. And rather than addressing the problems that are causing people to feel threatened enough to think that they've got to go to the streets to defend their kids, you're telling them, if you post about any of this, we're going to arrest you. Now look, that I don't agree with that. I think that not only is that a bad move to make, not only is that disrespectful to your people, I think that that is actually a bad move to make in the sense that it's detrimental to you, because people will only tolerate so much, history shows us, before they rise up in a really vicious way. And I hope that does not happen here. I'm not in any way encouraging that to happen. But I'm just saying history repeats itself when you have people that don't learn from it. We've seen that over and over again. So threatening your own people is not a smart way to deal with this, and I really hope that the British government reverses course. But that is up to the British people to deal with. I'm not there. I'm not boots on the ground. I'm seeing all this from the outside. They know what it's like to actually live on the streets there. They know how big the problem is or isn't, and whether it's worth a fight or not worth a fight. That is for them to decide. However, Britain didn't stop with just threatening their people. They decided to threaten Americans, too. They specifically threatened Elon Musk, who is an American, saying that, if he posts things that they don't like in Britain, or he allows other people, non-British people, to post things on Twitter that they don't like, that they're going to arrest him. And that's laughable, to be honest, because, it doesn't exactly take a genius to understand that Americans are not subject to British law. You can make a law in Britain that Brits can't post certain things. You have absolutely no authority over Americans or Australians or Germans or Chinese or anybody else to tell them what they can post. We aren't subject to your laws, you little dictator. Elon responded to this by by posting a meme from a movie where the actor is telling whoever he's confronting to back the hell off and go F your own face. Could I like Elon any more than I already do? So let me play you very quickly the clip of the British police telling Americans they're going to come and get us and lock us up if we don't behave how they tell us to.
We will throw the full force of the law at people. And whether you're in this country committing crimes on the streets or committing crimes from further afield online, we will come after you.
Talk to me about that, because we have seen some high-profile figures whipping up the hatred. You talked about it in there with the officers, in fact, about this being added to by online commentary. I mean, I'm even thinking of the likes of Elon Musk getting involved. What are you considering when it comes to dealing with people who are whipping up this kind of behaviour from behind a keyboard, maybe in a different country?
Being a keyboard warrior does not make you safe from the law. You can be guilty of offences of incitement, of stirring up racial hatred. There are numerous terrorist offences regarding the sort of publishing of material. All of those offences are in play if people are provoking hatred and violence on the streets, and we'll come after those individuals just as we will physically confront on the streets the thugs and the yobs who are causing the problems for communities.
So you're going to come get us and throw the full force of the law, meaning zero because we're not subject to your laws, at us. I'm not trying to be all macho American, throw my weight around in the world, but come and get me. Okay, seriously? We're going to have to dig up Freud to create a new category for this kind of compensation. He talked about male behavior when they're compensating for certain deficiencies. I guess we're going to have to do that for countries now. Little island, big ego. All right, you are not the world power that Britain used to be. You haven't been for a while. You don't have the world's biggest navy anymore. You don't own half the globe anymore. We had to come save your ass from Germany twice. And I say this as somebody that admires Britain. All right? My first podcast, if you'll remember, was on Winston Churchill and how much I admired him. But let's be real here. I'd like to see you try. I would remind you that while no one's armed in Britain, including the police, almost everybody here is. So come and get us. All right? I've been shooting since I was about 10 years old, and I'm a really good shot. I don't threaten violence, but if you want to play John Wayne with me, I can play that game. All right? I will defend myself against foreign invaders. So that is what you were threatening, right? Come and get me. And I'd sure like to see you come and get Elon. Good luck with that. Keep this up, and soon people are going to be saying that Napoleon had a Britain complex. And our final game is called Name That Terrorist. Here is a clip of a Muslim religious leader giving a speech to his congregation. I'm going to play it for you, and then I will translate.
اللهم عليك بالصهاينة الغاصبين اللهم احصهم عددا وانثرهم بددا ولا تبق منهم أحدا اللهم اشف يا رب اشف صدورنا منهم يا رب العالمين واجعل الدائرة عليهم يا رب العالمين.
O Allah, annihilate the plundering Zionists. O Allah, count them one by one, scatter them, do not spare a single one of them. O Allah, relieve us from them and bring tragedy upon them, O Lord of the universe. Name that terrorist. Yaakov Sinwar? Basically the only person with any power left alive in Hamas, in Gaza, and mastermind of the October 7th genocide. May the Israelis kill him soon? No. Guess again. Ayatollah in Iran? No. A religious leader in Washington State, United States. Deportations were invented for people like this. Well, I don't know if that last one was funny, but the rest were funny. So now that we've had our laugh, let's move on to the retroactive podcast. A few of my least favorite things, part 2. Internet fame. In my last series, I confessed to you how much I've grown to love podcasts. But one thing I hate about today's world is how carelessly and randomly we hand out fame. Fame has always been a tricky concept. There are the George Washingtons, John Adams, Abraham Lincolns, the FDRs, JFKs, and MLKs who are famous to history. There have also been John Glenn's, Neil Armstrong's, Robert Oppenheimer's, and Elon Musk's who changed the world. There are even those who were born to fame, like J.J. Astor, Queen Elizabeth, and JFK Jr. But there is another kind of fame. We also have the Audrey Hepburns, the Fred Astaire's, and the Frank Sinatras. We have our Elvis Presleys, our Paul McCartneys, and our Freddie Mercurys, our Elizabeth Taylors, our Anthony Hopkins, and our Leonardo DiCaprios. But there is yet another form of fame, a new kind of fame that has become the most common of all over the last few decades, and frankly, I'm not a fan. I'm in the minority on this, and that's fine. I'm just sharing my point of view. I don't need to convince people to agree with me. To be famous for being an iconic rock star or a legendary actor may not be in the same category as founding a nation or walking on the moon, but it is still a fame that is based on something. One could argue that acting isn't as important as having ended slavery, and fair enough. But art, good art, is important and always has been. Paintings, literature, photography, stories, films, music. These are the things that touch something in our soul. And those who are skilled enough to be able to do that, to touch us in some profound way, are unique, even if they aren't deciding the fate of nations. This new kind of fame, however, isn't a matter of being famous for things that do matter, just not to history per se. They're famous for nothing. It's a completely random kind of fame. And maybe that's the draw of it for some people. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying these people aren't skilled. Crafting a brand and making a luxurious living off of it, especially when you're not selling any real talent or gift, no art or music or even showmanship, just you, requires a lot. That's why most people can't do it. It may look like fame simply falls in their laps, but it doesn't. These people didn't just wake up with followers and take off out of nowhere. They crafted a brand and sold it. And they are a small few among many who have tried, who have actually succeeded. So I'm not putting them down for any lack of skill or effort, but I am putting down their product. They sold us nothing. And we pay to get nothing. We receive nothing of any value out of the deal. We watch them, we follow them, buy the products they endorse, but they aren't making history, and we know it. They aren't making discoveries or advancements that will change the world. They aren't even making art or music that moves us in some personal way. They are just selling us a mannequin, a lifeless imitation of a person who can do nothing. And for this, we make them wealthy. And worse, we make them influential. What exactly are the Kardashians famous for? I know they're on TV and they branched out from there into other areas that succeeded because of their fame. They created a brand, they attached their name to it. I'm not knocking them, it took skill to do that. I'm asking about them. What were they offering from the beginning to justify the status they claimed? What is the foundation that all the rest is built on? The reason it's an issue is because this is now the most common type of fame in today's world. People who sell us the emperor's new clothes, invisible nothingness, in exchange for cold hard cash and unearned influence. And we just get empty air. Most of these celebrities end up falling away as fast as they rise. This is partly because they have nothing real to offer or build on, and partly because the world in general has about a 15-second attention span. But some of them manage to hold on to their fame and power, and hey, that takes skill. A lot of people can't do it. So I'm not here to put down these people. I'm just wondering if anyone stops and assesses if they are selling anything that is still worth buying with either our time or our money. This isn't a lecture. If you're a huge fan and your life would be meaningless without them, to each his own. I'm not even saying that if it would be some huge sacrifice requiring a struggle of some sort on your part to give them up, leaving you feeling deprived of something that you necessarily should. I'm just wondering if you've ever considered if you even would feel deprived. Would you really miss them? Do you feel uplifted or better in some way after watching them? Are these influencers really the best quality of people to have sway over influencing so many people? Especially when you get so little, if anything, in return. It's true that even if you don't continue to care about these celebrities, that doesn't mean that all the others won't continue to obsess over and imitate them. But considering that their fame is in their following, not some special gift they have, considering that they get and maintain their followings out of a mob mentality, people wanting approval and acceptance, so they do what everyone else is doing and follow who everyone else is following, in that sense, your actions do make a difference. Who knows, by going against the blind crowds, you could become a trendsetter in a new direction. I'm not saying all of these, quote, celebrities are bad people. Most of them are incredibly damaged and definitely narcissistic to some degree, but they're not evil geniuses out to destroy the world and all that's good. The podcasters I listen to are the ones that make me think, where the people have put some effort into learning about the things they're talking about. That's different from a random girl on TikTok who has put zero effort into what she says, but merely rattles off whatever thoughts into her mind as though that alone makes them pearls of wisdom, worth sharing. As though her uneducated and unexamined thoughts are going to profoundly change someone else's life. She doesn't seem to think it's worth doing any listening, learning, or research on her end to make sure that what she's passing on has some value. Her inborn genius is enough. You are the only one who needs to listen and learn something. We are the only ones who should be putting any effort into life or ourself. If the sum of these, quote, celebrities' appeal simply boils down to, I agree with them, they think just like me, then my question is, so why do you need them or find them interesting? You already have you, so why do you need them? What is the appeal of having a living echo? Apart from seeing someone you believe is similar to yourself achieve celebrity status, what's the appeal? And even in that sense, don't you just end up wondering, why them and not you? And then end up feeling depressed because it all seems so utterly random and you feel powerless in the face of all that randomness. My point is, do we really want to keep going on down this road of elevating people who have nothing to offer, besides the skill in marketing themselves, to vast fame, fortune, and power? Do we want to participate in habitually riding each passing wave of the next fad, only to forget about them a few weeks later, and eventually end up denying that we were ever one of their fans at all? Are we ready to admit that it's all pretty empty and we're bored with it? The world has never been a crazier place. And the future has never held so many threats on so many fronts. Yet our standards for who we give power and influence to has never been lower. As in lying in the dirt, requiring absolutely nothing low. Which brings me to today's example, Dylan Mulvaney. I'm not going to mince words. This guy, yes, guy, I'm not trying to be unfeeling towards anyone. I don't deliberately hurt people's feelings, but I'm not playing this game. Most especially not for someone like him. This guy is a walking fetish. No more. Hey, I told you I wasn't going to mince words. He offers nothing and has become famous, rich, and influential, as in being invited to speak with the president at the White House, while doing what he does, offer nothing. The best you can say about him is that he offers you a chance to watch him as he mocks absolutely everything a woman is. If we really want to examine the chauvinist idea of patriarchy, we need no better example than Dylan Mulvaney. Take his new song. This would have been new when this article was written, back in April. Days of Girlhood. If you need proof that we are talking about a guy here, this song is it. Because only a guy could concoct such a mockingly shallow and dismissively insulting idea of what it is to be a woman. Apart from the title, which only confirms that this is all a fetish to him, he doesn't want to live out womanhood, but rather girlhood, as though he's 16, going on 17, as well as being female. He starts by arriving in his Barbie car, carrying his Barbie heels, and walking barefoot, which are clearly male feet, into some Barbie dream home, dressed in Barbie clothes that no one would actually wear, trimmed in Muppet fur. He lounges on his round, pink, of course, bed, shows off his medicine cabinet overflowing with prescription bottles, deliberates over his choice of bra, does his nails, and acts out his idea of a woman's life. He kisses a picture of a guy in a heart-shaped frame, which is weird because at the time he's singing about being a girl who is going out with her gay best friend. As though we actually live in rom-coms. But if the guy in the picture is his gay bestie, whose picture he keeps to kiss, wouldn't that make him his gay boyfriend? And if it is his boyfriend, then why is he playing wingman to him like some bizarre reboot of Goose and Maverick, helping his boyfriend score with someone else? All I know is I'm retreating from that confusing rabbit hole before he too butchers the Righteous Brothers' You've Lost That Loving Feeling. So, fleeing the endlessly circular complexities of Dylan's Wonderland, I'll move on. He drinks champagne in his Barbie jacuzzi, enjoying a bubble bath, in which he is thankfully clothed. After that, he dresses up like a strange June Cleaver trad doll to ride his exercise bike, lounge by the pool, and attempt to suggestively trim the hedges. Then he alternates between cheer squad dancing with girlfriends by the pool and lounging in his pink bed some more. He makes sure to show us that one of his girlfriends is plus size, in her bathing suit, presumably so it seems like he struggles with female body issues, before sleepily laying his head on the shoulder of another trans person playing a grand piano in front of a fire. Then he ends his big day back in bed. Sounds just like your life, right, ladies? No one can seriously argue that this idea of a typical woman's life came from anywhere but the very out of touch and very male brain of Dylan Mulvaney. But if you need a bit more proof of that, here are the lyrics to his song Just in Case. And I apologize for subjecting you to this. Ring the alarms immediately. We have a Code Pink emergency. He does understand that girls do like other colors besides just pink, right? Calling women of all ages. Girls like me gotta learn the basics. Last look, quick change, sip champagne, playing catch up because we missed the pregame. Yes, you missed out on the joys of female puberty. How sad for you. Pull up the group chat. Where you at? Drop a pin. We're doing hot girl shit. Get in. So we only do shallow stuff while obsessively chatting on the internet? The pre-chorus. Monday, can't get out of bed. So we're hopelessly lazy housewives with nothing to do. Tuesday morning, pick up meds. And spend every day attempting to OD on prescriptions because over-the-counter, like Midol, are so last season. Especially for someone who's never had a menstrual cramp in his life. Wednesday, retail therapy. Cash or credit, I say yes. We only care about shopping and are all financially irresponsible. Thursday, had a walk of shame, didn't even know his name. And apparently we're all sluts. Weekends are for kissing friends. Yeah, that's what girls do when they get together in real life, as opposed to a guy's fantasy. Friday night, I'll overspend, because we are just that incapable of being responsible adults. Saturday, we flirt for drinks. So we're back to sluts. Playing wingman to our twinks. Down the gay best friend rabbit hole we go. Sunday, the Twilight soundtrack. Really. Cue my breakdown in the bath. Because we are all emotional train wrecks who habitually have breakdowns for fun. Then he proceeds to the chorus. These are the days, these are the days, these are the days of girlhood. These are the days, these are the days, these are the days of girlhood. Every day, every night, rise and shine, they're all mine. Yeah, we get it, you're a narcissist. Insatiably desperate for attention. Thick or thin, I'll be all right. I don't know if he's like referring to weight issues. Got my dolls by my side. I'm not sure if he thinks dolls are a lifelong thing with girls, or if he thinks women call their friends doll like some guy in a 40s musical. These are the days, these are the days, these are the days of girlhood. Verse 2, hot girls to the front of the line. Because women are all a bunch of entitled mean girls and apparently remain so for the rest of their lives. Linked arms, no stress, because we're dressed up to the nines. Since we only care about clothes, our looks, and vanity in general, we have nothing more important to stress about. Mini skirt sits below my hips. So he's back to calling us sluts again. Dyed my hair blonde, pillow talk on my lips. Apparently, Legally Blonde is a documentary in Dylan's world. Boys on the dance floor, it's finally clear. The patriarchy's over, you can hold my beer. Hold our beer. Oh, so he is one of us, oppressed by the patriarchy, and apparently thinks we love beer. Ironic, considering what he cost Bud Light. Back at home, we replay the breakup. Yeah, because we love being drama queens and have nothing more to think about than guys. Stay up all night, fall asleep in our makeup. So vanity remains our biggest concern. Pre-chorus. Mom brought me into the world. Sister taught me how to girl. Has he met sisters? Best friend coaches me how to text the boy toy that I'm dating next. Apparently we don't look at men as fellow human beings or even want a meaningful relationship. They're just our boy toys. Girls who helped show me the way, they're why I'm an it girl today. Oh, he is today's it girl, but at least he thanks the little people who got him there, i.e. women. Chorus. These are the days, these are the days, these are the days of girlhood. These are the days, these are the days, these are the days of girlhood. Every day, every night, rise and shine, they're all mine. Thick or thin, I'll be all right. Got my dolls by my side. These are the days, these are the days, these are the days of girlhood. Love ya. Again, I say it. Sounds exactly like a woman's idea of her typical day, doesn't it, ladies? My mother was a real flesh and blood woman. She was more than some Stepford cartoon. She worked as a single mom, raising 2 kids. Then she kept the house spotless as a wife and mother while raising 4 more. She made dinner every night, took care of my terminally ill brother, whom she had to get up with every night, to the same degree that most parents only have to do with newborns, and still took care of the rest of us, even when she had double pneumonia. She was strong. She got through a miscarriage. She saw her 12-year-old son put into a coffin and buried in the ground, and then found some way to walk away from that graveyard and keep taking care of the rest of us, and still drove us to school the next week. She was always the one to bring food when someone was sick. She took care of her grandmother who raised her in our home for 15 years. She worked hard to make sure that I got the best medical care available and stayed with me in the hospitals, sleeping on cots and in waiting rooms for over 20 surgeries. She got us both out of an abusive home and made a new life for us, being brave enough to start over in her 60s. She survived a brain tumor, the surgery, and the awful and frightening recovery. She was selfless. She denied herself the little luxuries of life to do all she could to make sure that I would be taken care of after she was gone, no matter how costly the sacrifice was to her personally. And when she died, it was only because even her desire to take care of me couldn't overcome the sepsis she had been fighting with all the persistent determination she had always lived with. That is what a woman is, Dylan. They come in many forms and lead many different kinds of life, but that is the real deal. And I was blessed to have a woman like that give me life and raise me. I miss her more than words will ever express. And I probably will continue to do so until the day I die. Whether you share my views of the insulting game that Dylan Mulvaney is playing, or if you disagree and really think he's sincere, either way, what has he done that is worthy of comparison to a woman like my mother? If he is brave and beautiful, then I ask, in comparison to whom? What has he done to demonstrate having a worthiness or even capability of being put in a position of real influence? In today's crazy world, the reality is that we need better. We need more than what we are choosing. And only we can do anything about that. We really need to start thinking about who is offering something that is worth our attention, or of being allowed to influence our thinking or our culture, and who isn't. Not because they're awful people that we're going to punish, but simply because they have nothing of value to offer, and we require some kind of substance. We can wish these celebrities well with their private lives, but we don't need to make them famous or important on the national stage. We need to remember what it was to have some standards. Then we need to set them and have the self-respect to stand by them. We don't do this because we're judging anyone or out of a desire to look down on people. We do it because we matter too. Our minds matter. Our time matters. Influence matters. And walking away from nothing isn't a sacrifice at all. Let's find those who have something real to offer, something rare. It requires a little digging, but they are out there. If you only stop to evaluate the options by asking, why am I listening to this person? Giving them any of the moments of my finite life. The choice is entirely yours. Like I said, I don't need to convince anyone else to think the same way I do. But for me personally, I won't be giving any more of my one and only life to the empty Dylan Mulvaneys of the world. I'm compelled to end with a good song after subjecting you to Dylan's, if only to remind us that such a thing exists. So I offer Texan hippie Willie Nelson's latest single, his rendition of Rodney Crowell's The Border. I work on the border. I see what I see. I work on the border, and it's working on me. I lie awake at night knowing what I know. There's a price on the head of every border patrol. Where the smugglers do business, that's where I make a stand. I know this old desert like the back of my hand. I see greed in the bushes. I see snakes in the dark. Some are friends of my brothers. Can't you hear them dogs bark? Chorus. I come home to Maria at the end of the day, in the shape of a shadow, holding demons at bay. It's just a border, they say. It was Mexican soldiers out of a black Humvee, with their guns to their shoulders, aimed at my partner and me. As they drove away laughing, but the message was clear. We don't care about nothing but the money down here. Chorus. I come home to Maria in a bulletproof vest, with the weight of the whole wide world bearing down on my chest. It's just a border, I guess. From the shacks and the shanties come the hungry and poor. Some to drown at the crosses, some to suffer no more. Guess you heard about Campos and Ramian, both of them friends of mine, both good men. They did one thing right, and look what they got. Federal prison, where they're both going to rot. Chorus. I come home to Maria. Where else would I go? Cross the river to die by myself down in old Mexico? It's just a border, you know. In case we've forgotten, that's what art, from someone with a gift to make you think and feel something, sounds like. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast, and I hope I will see you again next week. Thank you for listening.